that's kind of bled slightly into the mainstream. You see, like, kind of radio DJs having competitions, vandalized pages and stuff, crazy stuff like that. But the use of OER in this space actually answers the questions around authority, whilst keeping the everyone can take it, everyone can change it, everyone can add to it aspect of Wikipedia. So that's an opportunity for society rather than education necessarily, but I don't think you can actually divorce education from a perspective on wider society. So that's my answer in a nutshell, and I've been speaking for far too long, so I will stop now, and thanks for your attention.
So much for that, David. Really useful summary. And as I said in the chat box, the JISC HEA projects are really important, I think, and so well worth a look at. So if you could put in some of the links to the things you mentioned, and we'll collate those and send those around afterwards, that'd be great. So could I now move on to Hans? Remember to switch the talk button on and then switch it off again when you finish, Hans. If you could just explain first of all where you're from, that'd be really helpful. Thanks. Are you there, Hans? Okay, I can't see Hans at the moment, so maybe we'll come back again to Hans, and so could we perhaps move on to Patrick, please?
Hi, Grania. No, I think people will be able to hear me previously, but if you put a little cross up if anything's bad about my sound, I'll do something with it. Hi, Hans. Yes, sorry, I've taken your place now. So trying to look at the question then, I suppose a little bit of background. I'm with the Open University. I was involved in the OpenLearn initiative that carries on providing free content from the Open University. I'm also involved in AllNet. I'm co-director of AllNet, which is funded by the Hewlett Foundation to try and look at the evidence of OER use. So I think there are a lot of opportunities around OER, and I do think actually slightly different emphasis perhaps to what David said about OER being like other things and not necessarily offering more than other forms. I think the openness that's behind open education resources enables it to have a bigger impact than technically similar approaches to providing web-based courses. So I think that as long as we can stick with genuinely being open about what we do, then we can have a bigger impact than we might expect from some of the activities if we saw it purely in terms of the content and the courses. So I was thinking about the opportunities, and I was going to sort of break it down into a few different categories. There's the provider opportunity, the area that first got the Open University involved. It is a way in which universities can deliver on their sort of public service mission and provide access to the content that perhaps they haven't got any other particular plans for, and sort of be able to share a lot of the good material that's produced, and that should then lead to potential for greater efficiency. But if as a provider you can get the marginal costs of making material openly available low enough, and part of the way in which you function as a business, then it becomes a bit of a why not do it. And if enough people can be joining in on the provider side, then you'll be left out if you don't also see the resources that are being produced by you as a public body, as a university, as being widely available. So lots of provider motivations. We've got a report where we looked at the impact on the OU, and there's lots of good side effects as well. Then there's sort of the same thing looking at a university education perspective, but as a user of all of these free resources, I think there's a big opportunity around institutions looking at how they can best make use of the free resources that are coming out of initiatives such as JISC in the UK, but and also the Open Courseware Consortium, and lots of other people now making available free content. And it also blends then with the Wikipedia material as well. That we shouldn't exclude material that doesn't come directly from universities. So it's a sort of blending approach. Then the other one for whom there's a huge opportunity is the learner. David referred to the Brown Review report and the implications it has for making the cost of going to university in the UK so much more visible. But everywhere it costs a learner. It costs a learner in terms of being part of the institutional process of taking part in education. And actually, the high quality material that you can organize or have organized for you into good ways to learn and good ways to draw together with other learners, I think is pointing towards a different approach to how we might see learning. And at the moment, the value is still in a bit of paper, the accreditation, but I'm not sure that's going to stick. And actually, as some people who might in the past have gone to university opt to not do so because of cost, can find another way to prove their abilities, and that they have learned the requisite materials through open approaches. There could be something there. And this leads me on to sort of the next perspective, the revolutionary perspective that I can see in the actions in the US, for example, where they're using open education resources as a key element in trying to take a deeper learning approach in changing the school system and crossing over all the boundaries and barriers that are involved there. But I think there is a sort of revolutionary aspect that can be built on the openness, and David just put in the chat form that it's what does it let it be? So yeah, OERs as catalysts for change. I think that's a very important one to latch onto and perhaps influences others. I'll just put a very final one which I've just thought of, which is the impact it's had on me as a researcher as well. That openness is crossing over into research, crossing over into how data happens as well. So I think there are opportunities around provider, user, learner, researcher, but perhaps this revolutionary one and how it can act to help change, help collaboration is a very important one to latch onto.
That's fantastic, really useful summaries and really kind of visionary points there. I think as we gain more understanding of OER, we've got more visionary in terms of understanding the opportunities they offer for transforming education. It might be nice if you could put up some links in the chat window to some of the excellent reports and chapters you've done over the years. Andy's mentioning a BJET paper, perhaps, I'm not sure if that's live to everyone, Andy. Perhaps you could send it around to everyone in the chat. But also, Patrick, I think your your evaluation at the end of OpenLearn had some really kind of critical and valuable points about the challenges and opportunities to do with OER, which is very much grounded in your study of the development of OpenLearn and how people were using the resources. So perhaps you could put a link to that as well. That'd be great. Okay, we'll now move back to Hans. Hans, sorry for getting Patrick to jump the queue. I'm just conscious of time. So, Hans, I'm going to hand over to you. If you could just introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hans, and I work as a researcher in Tallinn University. And we have several open education projects going on here. The most important of them is LEMIL, Open Educational Resources Authoring Community, where we have 14,000 teachers. And I think that for me, interesting opportunity related to open educational resources is the use of open educational resources in small countries and languages. For example, in Estonia, we have 1.2 million people who speak Estonian language, and there is no market for commercially created learning content. So it is all either subsidized by different kind of projects or created by teachers. And second opportunity related to this is user-generated content. I think that it is much more interesting than content generated by the professionals, and this will lead into collaborative authoring and more collaboration between the teachers. And recently I have been interested, besides open educational resources, also more in open educational practices like massive open online courses and Wikiversity. And I think that the real opportunities of open education lie there when we look forward and not just focus on the content, but on open learning communities.
Thanks very, very much. And I've put some links up to the mill, which I agree is an excellent project, and also specifically to the open courses that George Stevens and Stephen Downs ran in recent years, CCK 09, 09 and 08, which I really do think are kind of challenging traditional modes of education in terms of not only is the content really available in these courses, but so is the expertise. So I think they really raise some challenging issues for us in formal education. Thanks very much for that. Okay, now I'd like to whip over to Europe and to Netherlands. So perhaps, Peter, if you could introduce yourself and say what your thoughts are on question 1. Thanks.
Yes, I would like to do that. Thank you very much for the invitation. I think this is could be a very useful meeting for all of us. I am, for those of you who don't know, with the Open University of the Netherlands, and we recently had a name change. It's now the Open University in the Netherlands. Don't ask me why we did this. I think it sounds rather funny, but anyway, that's what it is. At the Open University, I work with the Center for Learning Sciences and Technology, where I am a program director in a program that researches network learning for professional development. At the OU, we do have an open educational resources policy. We've had it for several years already. Actually, we got a little bit from the Hewlett grant also to work on this. And the idea is actually that the OU is going to drastically change its policies. And what we aim to do is make all our resources, which are almost all in Dutch, available as open educational resources for other universities and for secondary education in the Netherlands. However, we run into several problems, which actually is part of the third question that you mentioned. Those barriers are legal in part and have to do with financing as well. I'll say a little bit about that later on. With respect to the first of the 4 questions, what are the opportunities that I see? I see that, and that is perhaps slightly different than the other speakers so far, I see large opportunities for the use of open educational resources for non-formal learning and for lifelong learning. I think without open educational resources, those two new kinds of learning will not really take off. And I guess it's perhaps also very close to the original intention that MIT had when they put their resources online. Second, of course, I believe that there are big opportunities for increasing quality in formal education when universities start to collaborate on the production of open educational resources. And of course, that in itself is something which is worthwhile. Patrick mentioned that already.